What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Fanatics. I'm your host, Farron, here with my boy Vito. And today we are bringing you, I would say, the most anticipated movie of 2024, if you're a nerd in any capacity, and
Definitely.
that would be Deadpool and Wolverine. I know we've been away for a while, y'all, but we're here. Wanted to bring you this review of one of the biggest superhero films to come out this year, if not the biggest, and a film that you could arguably say has revitalized fan excitement in the MCU for the first time in a while. So a lot to unpack in this film. Um, I was debating before we started on whether or not to do a spoiler or a non-spoiler review. Given the fact the film's been out for a while now, I think it's safe to say we can dive into spoilers, especially considering how much happens in this movie.
A
It's kind of
lot.
hard to dance around it without spoiling some things. So if you haven't seen Deadpool Wolverine yet, go watch it and come back to this because we will be spoiling it. So I'm just going to give some initial thoughts of how I felt about it, what I thought. I think this is one of the most important MCU films to come out since Endgame, if not the most important one. This is, I think, the first time Marvel kind of understood what made them good in the first place, which is A, good writing, B, an understanding of the characters you have on screen and how to execute them properly. Fan service, not just for the sake of fan service, but fan service that
Yeah.
actually advances the plot and actually has some substance to it. And then lastly, something to look forward to because this is an expanded universe. And I thought this film hit on all of those points very, very well. The highlight, the obvious highlight, is the chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman as Deadpool and Wolverine. They stole the show by far. As good as you expected their chemistry to be going into this film, it met those expectations and in my case exceeded them. I thought the way their banter was, their dialogue, their arguments, their fight scenes, everything was executed perfectly between those two characters, in my opinion. And then the villain was strong in the sense that she was powerful and intimidating. Was she very well? Cassandra Nova wasn't very well fleshed out, or they didn't really dive
No.
too much into her. But she was very powerful and she was intimidating. And I thought one of the things that helped is her connection to a character that the audience was already familiar with, being Charles Xavier. So that in of itself kind of gave us a little bit. It gave us enough backstory on her to go, okay, she's an evil Charles Xavier. Boom, got that. Now just imagine what Charles would do if he were evil, and that's essentially what her character is. So that was enough for me to go, all right, that's fine. Plus, with everything that was happening in this movie, and also, like I said, the chemistry between Deadpool and Wolverine throughout the film, I didn't really need a lot of the villain in this because the highlights were between the two characters I just
Yeah.
named. The title characters are what made this film. I didn't need the villain to be Thanos or Killmonger or Loki or something like that. Just make them decent enough and make them intimidating enough. And I think it worked, flawlessly, as well as all the other cameos that were in this are extensive. If you've watched any of the old X-Men Fox movies, you're going to recognize a lot of the characters, in this film. Not just the heroes, but also some of the villains that are working with Cassandra as well. A lot of those characters are callbacks from the old X-Men films. So those are just some of my initial thoughts. Vito, I'll let you go ahead and give some of your initial thoughts, things you liked about the
Okay.
film.
I'm gonna get this out the way first. Loved it. All right. I seen it twice. Thinking about going to see it the third time before we did this. Didn't flesh out like that. All right. I like to do my ratings before and after just because they change a little bit. So my initial was an 8.5. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I like the villain. Two simple reasons. One, it's somebody new,
Yeah.
but it ties back into the um, the Fox universe, tying into this new universe which they're combining.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just bad for the sake of being bad. There was
Yeah.
no alternative motives.
Yeah.
She
Yeah. She
just
had
wanted
no
to be
plan.
bad. She
Yeah.
was cool living the life she was living and just doing whatever the fuck she wanted to do. She was good with
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, the chemistry was on point, and that they started that very quickly. giving them that chemistry. Um, with two guys that don't know each other.
Hmm.
Obviously Deadpool knows about Logan. Logan doesn't know who the hell Wade Wilson is. So,
Yeah.
um, and you're getting an angrier Wolverine than we've had before. All right. He's been through some shit. He's lost a lot of people, and
Hmm.
it's kind of it's a redemption story for him. And it's a can I measure up to where I need to be for Deadpool?
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is, like I said, I love the cameos. I love the twist with the cameos.
Yeah.
And the only thing I'll say was I feel like once they made it to the I forget what the world was called where they were at. Um,
Oh, the Earth where their Earth. It was like Earth 10 something. I don't
no,
remember.
no, not that one. The one where Cassandra Nova lived.
Oh, the Void.
The Void. So the Void. I think the Void was a lot. I feel like it was a lot longer than it should have been. All right, that was very long. It got kind of clunky at a certain point, but it really snapped right back out of it.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, yeah, so it was pretty long and clunky for me right there. It ties together the rest of the film, though. It really
Hmm.
brings those parts together. But
Hmm.
it just felt long for me. I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have.
Hmm.
Um, the one more thing, I had something, just forgot it what it was, but overall, it's a great movie. I love most of the cinematography. I will say some of the CGI was poorly done in some of the parts. And the main one I'm thinking about is when they jumped off the bus.
Mm,
And
okay.
I'm trying to think. It looked like the Matrix 3, I believe it was, when Neo and Agent Smith was fighting. Like it looked very cartoony. And
Yeah,
obviously,
like video game like
yeah,
almost. Yeah.
and we know but we've seen, great CGI. We've seen good CGI. And I want to say that may have been the only part that I really, really paid attention to that I noticed it.
Hmm.
Outside of that, it was a great movie. The intro, or let's go ahead and jump straight into it then,
Yeah,
because
let's do it.
I'm
The
start
intro
jumping
that's
over the
brought
place.
NSYNC back.
Yeah, I'm gonna say from the intro, man. It starts with and it's funny because you really don't have to watch any of the other Deadpool movies, and you really didn't have to watch the other Wolverine movies. Now they help, and it adds so much more context
Yeah.
for the rest of the film, but you don't need to watch it, which is something I love about movies. It's good that you see these things, but like I said, with some of the cameos, the fact that you kind of needed to see the other Fox movies,
To
not
understand
yeah,
those
to
characters'
really
histories.
understand,
Yeah.
but you didn't need to see it. Like it's still
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, to understand the significance of the cameos, I think you would have had to have seen those films. Absolutely. I think without seeing those other movies, you can still enjoy this movie. Yes, like you can still watch this movie and understand it and comprehend it and
Mhm.
enjoy it without seeing those. I just feel like your level of enjoyment and appreciation for what's happening on screen isn't going to be as high as someone else who experienced those films in real time.
Yeah, 1,000%. I just remember what it was that I one of the reasons again 8.5 out of 10. I'm sick of the multiverse. I think I've mentioned this before
Hmm.
that I don't like the multiverse. They need to end it. I mean, it's good in comics when you can flush it out, when you can put 5, 10 different comics out at the same time. But
Hmm.
when with these movies and these films, it's getting a little harder to do so.
Yeah.
I really thought that they were going to use this as an opportunity to combine the universes. Now we know that the Fox universe and is coming to the MCU, but we still don't know how they're going to do it.
Hmm.
All right. We got a taste of it in the Marvels at the end. Um,
When Kelsey Grammer's Beast.
yeah, with Kelsey
Yeah.
Grammer's Beast and her mother was there. So,
Hmm.
we got a taste of it. So we know, she punched through and she got through the multiverse somehow. With this one, it goes back into the TVA and those different timelines, excuse me, and how he got there. And I really want to say, we mentioned Cassandra Nova, but we didn't, I forget his name, the TVA guy,
Paradox.
Paradox.
Yeah.
I would add him as a villain.
He is,
He was
but
a lesser villain. I mean,
yeah,
he was
he
he
is a
was
villain, but I
to
don't
be
care about
honest
him.
with you, he was the main villain for the film, and then he got overtaken,
Yeah,
because of the power that Cassandra Nova
yeah. It was like at
wielded.
that point, you're no longer the main villain when she's that powerful. You just can't
Exactly.
be. Yeah.
So but I think his motivations were kind of petty. Just I don't want to do my job. Really,
Yeah,
it's
it was
like,
basically like, I mean, but I will say one thing that I did like about his motivations that I thought made sense to me was it and once again, this kind of goes back to having to have seen other things to
hmm
understand or appreciate this. And Deadpool even pokes fun of that when they mention Goliath. He's like, "Oh, from Loki season 1
yeah,
episode." It's like, "Yeah, dude, you have too much stuff that the audience needs to pay attention to understand these movies right now." But for those who've seen Loki, you know that the TVA went through a shift where they stopped trying to prune universes and they stopped trying to go through the multiverse and just course correct everything. And instead, they went about their business a much different type of way. And you had certain people in the TVA that were cool with that. You had other people in the TVA like, oh no, we've done things this way for
right,
this long for a
for
reason. We're
millennia.
not changing. So it makes sense that there's still, that sentiment still around the TVA of like, yeah, and he even said it like, back in the day we would just prune these universes, but now I'm
hmm
forced to just sit here and watch it naturally die because it's too cruel if I just go in and end it right now. And he's like, why are we doing it like that? Just get it out the way and get it over with. That's how we used to do it. So it made sense that like there's still people within the TVA that aren't cool with the direction of the TVA and that
With the
would go
shift.
rogue. That to me that made sense as like a motivation of why I got to sit here on this die, watching this universe die. I could be doing something better with my time.
It's like it's like a factory getting shut down, and you're like,
Literally, you just
what?
got to sit there and
I'm
watch it.
gonna just
It's
blow
like
this
you,
bitch up. He's like,
yeah,
I
just like
don't
just get
have
it out the
to.
way, man. Just tear it down. Why do I have to sit here for 100 years and just watch this thing wilter away? Like I
Yeah.
could understand that motivation.
But
Um,
my thing was, he still had the support of everybody in his sector, which was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
I didn't think everybody was going to be on his side.
hmm.
So the part where Wade realizes, like, hey,
Oh,
you kind of off the
y'all went
reservation
rogue.
here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that no more, but like you kind of you off the leash. You doing something
Yeah,
you're not supposed. Your bosses don't know about this,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
everybody just looks around like, oh shit. And, I
Hmm.
assumed there would have been one guy in the room like, wait, we don't know what's
You're like,
going.
hold on, we doing what?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
we hold on. I thought this was cool. But like I said, I did like he was very slimy.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
one of my favorite parts of that movie was when he came back with Logan and Buddy starts eating a sandwich. uh, but again, I mean, and again with Deadpool, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of joking, a lot of comedy. I will say that the jokes were they were spaced evenly.
Yeah. They were a lot though.
It was a
They were
lot.
a
It was a
lot.
lot. But
It
it
was a
was
lot.
spaced evenly because again, some you watching some movies and it's joke after joke after joke after joke after joke, and you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay,
Thor:
can
Love and
we
Thunder.
can we get to the story? Can we
Yeah.
can we?
Yes.
But again, with Deadpool's character, he's able to push the story along with those jokes. All right.
And he had the perfect counter character for that too. Like Like one, if there was one complaint you could have about this movie, is Deadpool is completely unserious throughout this entire film.
Yeah,
There is a at least because, and that's to me a little bit of a deviation from the first two, right? Because even in Deadpool 1 and
he was
2,
more serious.
he's cracking jokes, but there were scenes in Deadpool 1 where he's very serious and it kind of gets a little dark. There's scenes in Deadpool 2 where he is dead serious and not cracking jokes. Those scenes aren't really in here. He's joking Deadpool almost throughout the entire film, but it works because you have a character who's the polar opposite of that, kind of as his right hand throughout the entire movie. And Logan is the person that's there to tell him about himself. Like, dude, you're annoying as hell and I want to kill you. You know what I'm saying? Like it works because Logan is there to kind of counteract that and be like, dude, you're doing too much right now.
Yeah, like if you would have had and again, if you know, I don't know, man, because I will say there was a moment in this one, and it wasn't as dark because he does mention his friends, and
Hmm.
why do I care about saving the world when my entire world's in this room, the entire world's in this picture? He
Yeah.
mentions it a few times. But like you 100% right. The rest of the film, he's joking, he's laughing, and Logan is he doesn't he's not giving into his shit where everybody
Yeah.
else did. Where
Hmm.
Cable's kind of like let him do his thing.
Yeah.
I hate him too, but let him do
Hmm.
his thing.
Yeah.
And the same thing with every scene he has with Colossus.
Hmm.
Colossus is they made him just so aloof to everything. So when Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, he's just like, all right, Deadpool's doing his thing. So you do have that, where it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Like
Who are you talking
Wolverine's
to?
like annoyed like the
Yeah,
entire film.
he's
Like,
annoyed. Like
yeah.
he's really annoyed. Like you said, like Cable was he got a little angry at it, but
Hmm.
he also, he knew like Deadpool wasn't like really. I'm not about to just beat his ass and be done with it, you
Yeah.
know. And Logan has more of a thing where it's like, oh, I know he has a healing factor, which I don't think he knew that at first. I don't think he knew that first fight that they had when they first got there. I don't think he knew that he
That
had a
Deadpool had a
healing
healing
factor.
factor.
Yeah,
That was that. I would say that first fight was amazing. That was
yeah,
everything I wanted it to be and more.
yeah.
That the car seat was great too. The car for the fight in the van was good too. But that initial fight scene in front of the fallen 20th Century Fox logo, that was perfect. That was
Oh
everything I
yeah.
needed it to be. And then the cameo that immediately followed that up. That was the perfect way to start being in the void. I thought that was a good way
So
to introduce it.
so what was your favorite cameo?
Blade by far. Yeah,
Okay.
Blade by far. Blade is the first rated R movie I ever watched.
That's
Like,
crazy.
yeah, that's the first rated R. I know I'm young. That's the first rated R movie I ever watched. The original Blade with Wesley Snipes. I remember my pops cut that on. Me and my pops watched all three Blade movies together. So yes, the Blade movies, even the third one, which is terrible, hold a
Hmm.
special place in my film nerd history. So yeah, when I saw Wesley Snipes walking there, I was like, well, if this movie wasn't a 10 out of 10 before, it is now, just off that
Yeah.
alone. And I will say it was really good if you are a film nerd and you understand the journey and the story behind what was supposed to be the Channing Tatum Gambit
Yeah.
movie. It was good to see Channing Tatum finally get his shot to play that character, because I really felt bad for Channing after a certain point. Like you just heard him interview after interview,
Yeah.
social media post of how much he wants to play Gambit, and he just never got the
So
opportunity because the film
I
never got
will
made.
say about that, Gambit is, that's probably my favorite X Men.
Hmm.
One of my favorite Marvel characters. Since I was a kid, I loved Gambit. I don't know why he was one of my favorites, or my favorite, but he was. And like others, I was like, well, Channing Tatum, fuck Channing Tatum. All right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I already have a beef that makes no sense with Channing Tatum. So, I was really like,
He was just
uh,
like, nah, he was anti that whole
no,
that whole movement of
but
making him Gambit.
we again, but you got to rethink about because the same thing about Heath Ledger as the Joker, same thing is
Hugh
Kristen Bell as
Jackman.
Batman, the same thing as Robert Pattinson as Batman. The same thing is I don't know why I just got the Batman because Ben Affleck as Batman.
Batman. Hugh
Every
Jackman as
time,
well. When Hugh Jackman was cast as Wolverine, fans were not happy
yeah,
initially. If you were,
everybody's
yeah,
like, nah, I don't think it, and but I did think I wish Gambit was a little more serious than he was,
yeah, but you
but
got it. It's the movie he's in.
my
It's the movie he's
God,
in.
it was fucking hilarious,
Yeah,
dude. It was
I will
hilarious.
say the one thing, and it worked in this movie because Deadpool was making fun of it, so it
Hmm.
worked. His accent, man,
Yeah, his accent was crazy.
it was real. That was
Um,
rough.
it was
That was
really like,
rough.
and can we get some subtitles? But
Man, he
back to
was
the
like, "Who's your dialect coach? The Minions?" Like, dude, like,
so
speak
out
English.
outside of Gambit, obviously Blade, because again, Blade started the shit off, and it's good to see Wesley Snipes in anything, man. Like
Yes.
Wesley Snipes is a good actor.
Yeah.
And I really love the part where he's like, "I don't like you." He's like, you never have."
You never
And it,
have.
and again, like you said, that's funny when you
Good
think
throwback to the
about
third film,
yeah,
the
the
third
third
Blade
Blade
movie.
film.
Yeah.
Him and um
I forgot
Ryan
who what.
Reynolds
Yeah,
historically,
I forgot Ryan Reynolds' character's name in that movie.
I don't know, something stupid, but
I just
they
remember he was
didn't.
fighting Triple H at some point. That's the only thing from that movie I
But
remember.
they didn't get along on set,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was a big thing. And I just seen an
I
interview
do.
recently
Yes,
with
you're right. No, they
Wesley
had a real
Snipes
life
saying,
beef. You're right.
yeah, they
Like
had a
Ryan
real
Reynolds
life
and
beef.
Wesley Snipes didn't
And
like each
Wesley
other.
Snipes
Yes.
was just saying like, "Oh yeah, I do like him. It's a joke. It was a joke." And it wasn't no joke,
It
but
wasn't no joke. Y'all ain't rock with each other.
yeah, like y'all able to again. That was 20 years ago. I don't know how. I think pretty sure it was about 20 years ago. But
I think that film came out roughly. I think the movie was like 2005, 2006.
yeah.
So damn near 10 years at this point.
So it's like, all right, mm, we I mean, it was one movie we had. We didn't like each other. Cool, whatever. We
Yeah.
both grown,
Yeah.
and I think they kind of came brought it back, pushed it together, and it was again having him in there was a great send off for the beginning.
It
The
was.
only other thing that I loved more than seeing Channing Tatum and or seeing Gambit
Hmm.
and then seeing Blade was Chris Evans' character.
That was genius the way they handled
It
that
was
opening.
genius.
Like you see him, well, first you see just the figure, and I'm like, okay, I saw the hooded figure. I'm like, all right, this is about to be a cameo. I don't know who it is. It's going to be a cameo of some sort. We're
Soon
going
as
to
he
recognize
started,
this character.
whatever he said, the first word he said, I'm like, oh shit, it's Captain America.
Right,
And
just as soon as he opened, like took the hood off, I'm like, oh shit! I didn't know we were doing like
well,
regular MCU cameos. I thought
before
this was just gonna be
that,
Fox characters.
he threw his hand out,
Yeah,
and you see the red
the
wrapped
red.
around his
Yeah, I'm
blue.
like, oh,
I'm
Captain
like, oh yeah,
here.
that's Captain
Okay,
America.
yeah.
He's Captain America. It didn't dawn on me that my man's was gonna be.
It didn't even cross my mind that he was gonna be Johnny Storm.
I
Even though, like,
forgot that he played Johnny Storm.
it's like even though you have the knowledge, the crazy part is like going into this movie, we didn't know what the cameos were going to
Right.
be, but all the rumors around the cameos were old Fox characters. Like we knew
Mhm.
Sabretooth was going to be in there because he was in the trailer. I don't know why they showed that, but we knew
Yeah.
Sabretooth was going to be in there. We knew X-23 was going to be in there. So it was like, all right, so the cameos are going to be all the old Fox characters. All right, cool, got it. So when Chris Evans shows up, the fact that my immediately thought went to Cap is crazy because it's like I came into this movie knowing all the cameos were going to be Fox
Yeah.
characters, and it never crossed my mind that he was about to be Johnny Storm.
Again,
Not
because
once.
he got that Captain America role and everything else. It's kind of like Ryan Reynolds is the Green Lantern. Like
Yeah, it's like you forget that happened
yeah, when you
almost. Yeah.
like okay, who you put up a list of actors and you like what superhero movie this person playing? You're like unless you really like again like I'm a fan of the Green Lantern, so I
Hmm.
remember. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be like I'm not thinking about the Green Lantern. It was a terrible movie.
Yeah.
Nobody's seen that. The only thing I would have been pissed though if Michael B. Jordan was in there and he was Johnny Storm because that
I
that
would have
shit
been
was
pissed.
terrible.
Yeah, I would have been. I would only reason I'm actually. You're right. I'm glad they didn't have anyone from that 2015 Fantastic Four movie for a few reasons. I think Chris Evans was a better Johnny Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Not by no fault of Michael B. Jordan. I think if Michael B. Jordan had been given a better script, he would have been a better Johnny Storm than Chris Evans. I believe that. If that movie had been given a better, I think Michael B. Jordan's a better actor than Chris Evans. That's just my personal opinion.
We agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's just my personal opinion. I think Michael B. Jordan. I've seen Michael B. Jordan give stronger performances than I've seen Chris Evans give.
I will
Like,
say I agree
go
with
watch
that,
Fruitvale Station.
but I will
Like, go
only
watch.
say I'm not watching that a second time.
That's what I'm saying. Like, think
but
outside of superhero
but
movies and just think
I'll
about them as
well,
actors.
I'll say I agree. Only
Yeah,
beginning he did, but
yeah,
now it seems like, and I don't want to get off track. It seems like Michael B. Jordan is playing. It really feels like his character's the same in everything he plays now. But my Chris
give
Evans
or take. Yeah,
doesn't really venture outside the box anymore.
yeah,
The same way, or he honestly he was just Captain America for so long. The
yeah.
only other thing that he did that recently I can think about was that the Gray Man movie.
He was awesome in The Gray Man. I will
Yeah,
say.
but
Don't
it
get
was
me wrong.
still
I'm
kind
not
of
saying Chris Evans
jokey.
is bad.
No,
Like Chris
I
Evans
get
is a
what you're saying.
phenomenal
Yeah, yeah.
actor.
But
But I
it
just think
was
Michael
still
B.
kind
Jordan has
of
shown more range in the
it
films
was
I've seen
yeah.
him in.
I think he's had a lot more. And again, I don't. I'm gonna say the last thing I'm saying. Then I'm gonna get off Michael B. Jordan. Um, I think he's took more chances.
He has.
Um,
Yes.
but back to Chris Evans. The first thing I can remember seeing him in was Not Another Teen Movie. And,
Sheesh.
and
Go back.
if you watch Not Another Teen Movie and you watch almost anything else, you're like, okay, he can act a little bit.
Yeah.
But but again, I love the switch up. Like same thing you said. Why did I think it was going to be Captain America?
Like there was no
And
reason for us to think that was going to be
well,
Cap.
for me, it's going back to the comics. That's one person who Deadpool has like a tremendous amount of respect for
Mm-hmm.
is Captain America. So when I see it and I seen the arm was what messed it up for me. When I seen
Because it
that
was
red
red, I
wrapped
was like,
around the
oh
arm,
yeah, it's
I'm
Cap.
like, that's Cap. It has to be. Nobody else wears blue and red, a suit.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was just even his like I said it was a good that was the best part for me, and it was really the scene before he turns into Jello
Yeah.
and
Because
the end credit that did it. It's like
yeah,
that's not because when as soon as he started speaking, you like, oh, that's not Captain America. That's
yeah.
not Captain America at all.
As soon as he
You
started
know,
swearing, I was like, whoa.
yeah.
I was like, well, this is a Deadpool movie, so like
That
maybe they're taking liberties, but
so
like
that's what I
Captain
was
America
thinking.
is
I'm
dropping
like,
F bombs and like
he
what's going
started
on?
cursing, and I'm like, man, I'm like, this a hard Captain America, man. He done been through some stuff.
Yeah, I was like Captain America in the Void ain't this is a different Cap, but all right.
I will say that they did not focus on his friends as much as they did in the prior movies. Um,
Yeah,
which
I'm okay with that
well,
honestly.
I'm okay with
Yeah,
it, but that may have played a part in the how you said this one was way more jokey
jokey because
because
he
he
doesn't
didn't.
have that anchor of the characters that
Yeah,
kept him serious
he didn't
before.
need
Yeah,
to have those conversations with him. Like you said,
yeah,
when it's beginning, like I said, it's kind of dark, but it's not as dark as oh, she about to die, she's dead,
dead like
or
she's
somebody's kidnapped her.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
oh, she
you
broke
just
up with
reminded me
me.
that the
You
opening of
know,
Deadpool 2 was very dark.
yeah, it's
Extremely
she
dark.
broke up with me. She don't want to
Yeah,
be with me. I'm
yeah.
going through this. I'm doing
Hmm.
this. I'm a car salesman. This and this.
Yeah.
And the only, you see his friends for a brief moment, and then you don't see him till the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see Peter at some point, but
The MVP.
MVP of all the movies. But you really don't see his friends. So like I said, he doesn't have that anchor.
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, I don't want to say they're afterthought because the reason he's doing everything he's doing is for them,
Hmm.
but they're not present like they were in the other two films.
Yeah.
You see
They're
them
a part of the
constantly.
story through his motivation, like you said.
Right.
Like they're a part of the story through what's motivating Deadpool to do what he's doing. But as far as their presence, there really isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like I said, that does I think feed into why he's so jokey in this film. Because in the previous two films, like thinking about them, the things that kept him anchored and kept him in, the somewhat serious scenes that he had were those characters. Like a lot
Right.
of them were with his girl. Like a lot of the serious scenes you got from the first two Deadpool films had to do with his girl in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So not having her, not having Colossus, not having those characters there definitely changes the vibe of how Deadpool operates, and you see it throughout the course of this film. One thing I wanted to dive into, which I think, and I'll give my final rating, because from here I kind of want to. I think we both kind of given our general thoughts now on what we thought about Deadpool and where it's at, and why we thought it was such a good movie, and the cameos as well. There was a lot in this film to like. Um, One thing I wanted to touch on is how we see this film catapulting the MCU going forward. Because I genuinely believe I'm gonna give this film a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
I loved it that much.
I can I can get behind that. I'm stick with
Yeah,
my 8.5 though, but
yeah,
I
eight point
can get
five
behind the
is
9
good
though.
too, but I give it a
Like I said,
nine because of what this film was going up against coming into it. It's easy after this film to get excited about the MCU, right? But prior to this movie, we really have to sit and think about the state of the MCU prior to Deadpool coming out. Fans had essentially lost faith in Marvel's direction and their ability to tell stories. A, B, the person who was supposed to play your next Thanos got tied up in in some stuff, you know,
Oh man.
and was, in my opinion, fired a little prematurely. I think they should have tried to stick that out because, in hindsight, like I think Jonathan Majors could still play Kang now, and audiences wouldn't care. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
don't think you needed to let Jonathan Majors go, but you did, so now you have to move on. And C, the characters you have set up to be whatever the next Avengers group is suck. Like, at least their shows do. I'm not gonna say the characters suck, but their shows and their movies sucked. Moon Knight wasn't good. She Hulk wasn't good. The Marvels didn't get good reviews. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
want to stop you though. The Marvels did not get good reviews, but the Marvels was a fucking excellent movie.
I still haven't seen it, so I can't. I
Go
just
watch the fucking movie, dude. We
I
talked
still
about
haven't
this. Go
seen it.
watch the fucking movie.
I still haven't seen it. I ain't even gonna lie to
Listen,
you. I still haven't
so
seen it.
and again, I want you to finish, but the
Okay.
Marvels was an excellent movie,
Hmm.
which got shitted on by fanboys.
You're gonna
Um,
get that. Yeah.
but it was an excellent movie. It,
Yeah.
I want to say it's not comparable to Deadpool with the joke, with the comedy and the serious parts, but it definitely had a nice mixture of it.
Hmm.
And again, with the tie-in at the end, it, it, with the tie-in at the end, you know that the Fox universe is coming over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this makes it more.
This is the Fox universe coming over. That's what
Yeah,
this
this
movie is.
isn't coming over though. Like
Yes, this
that,
is
you get a
it.
taste of it. Like, yeah, we
Yeah.
might.
Yeah.
Um, and then when you finish, I'm gonna touch on that again.
Yeah. But no, I think that given where the MCU was coming into this film with all the things I just named, there was a lot of pressure on this movie to perform well. There was, for a lot of reasons. A, you already had two really good Deadpool movies. Deadpool 1 and 2 are beloved films. So if this
Yeah,
one sucks, you know what the narrative is going to be. Disney bought it and ruined it.
killed it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of pressure on this movie to perform well, and the fact that it met and exceeded expectations in a lot of those areas, I want to give the film a lot of credit for that. And also just the nostalgia of this film as a kid that grew up on late 90s and early 2000s and mid 2000s superhero movies. There's a lot in this film that was essentially my childhood. This movie was essentially like, let's take the kids that grew up in that era, let's take their childhood and put it back on screen for them in a more serious fashion now, or more mature fashion, more rated R fashion. That's essentially what this movie was like, and I felt that it was a good love letter almost to the original Fox X-Men films, Elektra,
Hmm.
Daredevil, Punisher, like those old school Fox movies, but also like using that to catapult the MCU forward into what the next journey and adventures are going to be. I thought they handled that balance very well, so that's the reason I'm sticking with my 9 out of 10. Definitely would recommend that people go and see this if you haven't already. This is some of Marvel's best work, and I think this is going to be. This doesn't fix the MCU yet,
Not
because
by
there's a
far.
lot of holes they have to dig themselves out of. But this is a good springboard to start heading the right direction, from where you were before. Because it post Endgame, I mean, it's been inconsistent at
Very
best
inconsistent.
and unwatchable at times at worst. Like, some of the stuff they put out on Disney Plus has been like criminally bad. You know what I'm saying? Like Secret Invasion is not a good show. She Hulk is not a good show. Moon Knight is not a good show. Hawkeye is not a good show.
You
You know
didn't
what I'm
like
saying?
Hawkeye?
No, Echo is disappointing. I'm not gonna say it's a bad show, but Echo was disappointing.
So
Like,
we gonna have to come back with another show about these Marvel shows because I thought Hawkeye might have been the best, outside of Loki season 1
mhm.
and WandaVision. I think Hawkeye was probably the best. Oh, Miss Marvel.
Miss
I'm
Marvel
sorry,
was
I
good.
forgot
You notice I
all
didn't
about
mention
that.
that. Notice I
Miss
didn't mention Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel was the best show that they had, and then like I said, outside of the other ones, I did like Hawkeye. But I mean, it wasn't as strong as.
Hawkeye
Okay,
was
I agree
terrible.
with you. I agree.
Yeah, I was like, Hawkeye is
I wouldn't
terrible.
say terrible. It just wasn't as
Hawkeye is
strong.
terrible. Hawkeye is awful. I can't. The only thing that kept me watching that show was I knew Kingpin was coming,
Okay,
and he didn't disappoint. Kingpin was cool, but like
He does not.
the rest of that show was not good, and it took
Okay,
way too long for Kingpin to come in.
it was a long
So
time.
yeah, he came in like the second to last episode. So for that alone, the fact that you made me sit through 6 to 7 episodes of just bullshit to finally get to the character I wanted to see, like I can't let your show slide on that. That was not good. But I'm saying all of that to say is these are the characters you're setting up to be the next Avengers, quote unquote,
Hmm.
and their projects aren't landing with the fans. So, and the fact that we don't know who the new Avengers team is at all. We can sit here and speculate, but the
We
films have not confirmed to us who the next Avengers team is.
all we know for real is Captain America.
We know Sam Wilson is Captain
That's
America. That's the
and
only guarantee we
because
have.
we don't know that Bucky's gonna be in another one.
We don't even
Bucky
know
might.
Doctor Strange is going to be in the other one.
Well,
There's rumors he might not be in the
I
next
heard
Avengers
that too.
film.
Bucky's
You
gonna
know what I'm
be
saying?
in
The Thunderbolts.
the Thunderbolt, so he's
Yes,
not
which
gonna
I
be in
am
the
looking
team.
forward to. I'm really looking
So
forward to
I will
Thunderbolts.
say, man,
But
I agree to
yes,
some of what you said.
yeah,
I agree to some of what you said, and I'm not going to. I'm gonna say that there's no direction since they finished after Endgame. There's been no direction.
it hasn't. It's been throwing shit to the
Um,
wall and seeing if it sticks,
they have, they threw out WandaVision, which was good.
which was
All
really
right,
good. I really
and
like WandaVision.
and WandaVision leads us into Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Which was
I like Multiverse of Madness, but that's one where I will say, when you look at it, it wasn't that great.
it was underwhelming. It
It
wasn't
was
bad.
it
There was
wasn't
a
bad,
lot in
but
that movie to like, but it was underwhelming. It was
yeah,
underwhelming.
but then when you think about it, like, was that the second movie, third movie? That was the second movie,
That was a
Doctor Strange
second.
movie.
Yes. Yeah.
The first one wasn't that great, so yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been lacking direction. I'll say it's the most important thing. So like I said, we know Sam Wilson's going to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
We think there's going to be the new Hawkeye will be in there, and we think Miss Marvel will be in there. But the fact that they are young and they're not adults in this universe,
Yeah.
we like you said, we don't know who's going to be there.
We don't.
I think this they're using Deadpool to, like I said, with that merger, to be
I
the
think they're going to rely
first.
on that a
Yeah,
little too heavily.
they were trying to rely on that real heavily. Like I said,
Real.
because
Yes.
we've already had a taste of we knew they were coming. We knew
Mm-hmm.
they were coming. We
Yeah.
already had them in the Marvels.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they were there. We had Charles and
I would say Charles is in Multiverse of Madness, so that was really the start right
yeah, we
there.
had Charles in Multiverse of Madness. So we know they're coming, but this was like the death of it. It's like
Yeah.
it ain't no going back. Which we knew
Yeah.
it was no going back. We knew
Yeah.
Disney was going to get it. Just like Disney will get Sony. They will get Spider-Man at some point. Because
Yeah.
they are
Yeah. I think
fucking
so.
butchering those Spider-Man properties. All those villains. They are
Yeah.
butchering.
Yeah. They Sony not to digress into Sony. Sony just needs to stop making live action Spider-Man movies and
And it's not
focus
even
on
a
the
lot.
Spider
It's
Verse.
they keep trying to build villains
And the
that
wrong
no one
yeah.
knows. Who the fuck asked for a what's his name? Craven movie.
I'm so mad. Let's not talk about that because
And
I'm gonna get mad.
that I don't know if you
Why
guys
are you
know
making a Craven movie? Do you understand how integral to the character of Craven Spider-Man is? And you're gonna make a Craven movie that doesn't have Spider-Man in
at
it?
all. Same thing with and again Mobius and again Venom.
But you can make a Morbius movie without Spider-Man, though. Even though that movie sucked, you could have made a good Morbius movie without
But they don't
Spider-Man.
even. It,
Spider-Man is literally that's like an integral part to who Craven is and why he is doing what he is doing is the fact that he's hunting Spider-Man.
him and Venom. Venom doesn't.
Venom as
Venom.
well.
That's how
Yeah.
Anyway, you're right. I'm sorry because I
Yeah, I was about to
can.
say, 'cause I'll go on a rant about that. Like, that actually made me mad when I saw they were making a Craven movie.
so
I'm not gonna lie.
so I don't feel as strongly as Farhan does about the TV shows. I do feel like they were lacking in direction a lot, and the writing fell kind of short. Um, they there was no proper spacing in the shows, in a lot of the shows. So when you watch Moon Knight, you're watching one episode that you like, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
first two episodes was
yeah,
was
and then you
solid.
watch
The
an
rest of the
episode, and you're
show
like,
was
okay, can we let's go, let's go, let's go. Nothing's happening. Let's go, let's go. And I think that's the problem. That was been the problem with it. It was just there has there's been no direction, and the storytelling has been very slow. And
yeah,
Endgame came out what 2019,
yeah, 2019.
and we're almost in 2005. 2005 is when the next Avengers movie is coming out, and that's 6 years of nothing
Yeah,
essentially. Like Farhan said, let's start introducing these people. And excuse me, we might have been. I don't know if we talked about this on the recording or if we talked about it afterwards, where that's where DC failed. They tried to play catch up with Marvel by just throwing everybody in everything.
yeah,
And Marvel's trying to go back to their original thing, which is introducing people
yeah,
in their own films or own properties, on media, because there's what 4 5 TV shows,
yeah. It's too
and
much. They were
it's
trying to
too
do too much at once.
and that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
too much. Like, again, we they realize we love superhero movies at this point,
Hmm.
but it can become oversaturated,
Yeah.
especially this one studio putting out. And again, I love it, but it's not good.
Yeah. The
You're
quality's
putting
not
out
there,
5 shows in a year, 3 movies.
and only one of them hits.
One of them hits because I
You
forgot
know,
about it's a werewolf movie that they have.
Werewolf by Night on
Yeah,
I didn't even watch that. I didn't even get around to
yeah.
watching that one yet.
It's really it's not terrible, but it's really one of those movies that if you're not into this already, you're not going to be.
Yeah.
And it's already a comic that's not really. I mean, it's not really
Werewolf
a
by Night.
comic
It's
that's like,
not. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
this
not popular.
Spider.
Werewolf
I'm
by
about to
Night
go
is
watch
not
this because
popular.
yeah,
Yeah.
people that read the comics are going to go watch it. All right.
Yeah.
I'm a person that read comics, and I've never read that comic, and there was no only reason I watched it because Marvel put it out.
Yeah.
I'm
Essentially.
gonna watch
Yeah.
everything they put out, bad
Yeah.
or not. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like you said, I agree with the direction. Um, but I don't. Deadpool said it multiple times. This is the end of the multiverse. So
I think they lied.
he definitely lied because we're getting Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, and I don't think he's going to be Victor Von Doom. He's
I
going to
think he
be
will
Tony
be.
Stark.
No, I think he'll be Victor Von Doom. I
He's not
think
going to
he'll.
be. He's not going to be a
Here's
regular Victor. He's going to be
he
a
probably won't
fucking.
be,
He's going to be
but
an Iron Man variant of
here's the
Doctor
reason
Doom.
why he needs to be Victor Von Doom. Like needs to be. A, it's freaking Doctor Doom. Like let's just the most important reason is he's Doctor Doom, and this is supposed to be your replacement Thanos now because you gotten Kang up out of there. We're not getting Kang anymore. So now if you're going to pivot at the last second and focus on Doctor Doom, it needs to be the actual Doctor Doom. You're setting yourself up for failure if
So
you're not making him Doctor Doom. Now,
I don't think he'll
there's
be.
a storyline in the comics where Victor Von Doom and Tony Stark are roommates and they switch consciousness. So there's a way you can do this and still make him actually be Victor Von Doom and not really Tony Stark. He should only be Tony Stark in appearance. In terms of personality traits,
Mhm.
in terms of how he operates, in terms of the way he thinks, in terms of the way he executes, he needs to be Victor Von Doom to a T. The only thing about him that needs to be any semblance of Tony Stark is just the way the actor looks. and that is it.
So, and,
In my opinion, that's the only way that's going to work. Hey,
and we're still early on it. So again,
yeah.
he could be right, I could be right. We could both be wrong, both be right. Who
But we say
fucking
we
knows?
don't know. We have no
We don't
information
know.
on how they're going to execute this. And B is, I think, a key thing on why I think they're lying about the multiverse is if you know the story of Secret Wars,
Mm-hmm.
if you know what the Secret Wars story is, that you can't tell the Secret Wars story properly without the multiverse. Like that's the Secret Wars story is the multiverse collapsing in on each other and forming one battle world with Doctor Doom as the emperor of it. So the multiverse story is not going anywhere because the Avengers movie, their new Endgame movie, which is Secret Wars, is a multiverse story.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can't get rid of the multiverse now. A, you've invested too much time setting it up. You've invested an entire phase setting the multiverse up. So you're not just going to undo all that work you did. But what you can do is tell a compelling story with Doctor Doom and Doomsday. It's probably going to be multiverse related in some way, shape, or form.
It's going to be.
Yeah, you like tell
I
a compelling
guarantee it.
story with Doctor Doom and Doomsday, and then use that all the setup you've done with the multiverse, whether good, bad, or indifferent, and use that to tell a compelling, Avenger story in Doomsday and Secret Wars. That is how you, I think, fix this. But I think one of the key things Marvel needs to really do as we progress through, I think we're in phase 5 now, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't keep up.
Hey, I'm not gonna. I believe we're past phase 4 at this
All right.
point. I think we're past phase 4 now. I think, but one thing Marvel really needs to do is get back to the formula that was working prior to Endgame. If you can recall, prior to Endgame, I know it was almost 5 years ago now, but Marvel had a cadence with how they released their projects. They never released more than 3 movies in one year. Those movies were spaced out and they were about characters that were leading up to whatever the next
Mm-hmm.
Avengers movie was. There was no wasted film. Like there wasn't a movie in that time period that you watched and said, oh, okay, how does that tie in? You know what I'm saying? Everything connected or tied in, even
It,
if it was just a
wasn't
little
a
bit.
Black Widow after we know she's dead.
Yeah, well, okay. It was I try to forget that movie existed honestly because they ruined Taskmaster. That was a shit
Taskmaster
show.
was a robot.
Like you're gonna take a character that talks very eloquently and make them not speak. That worked before the last time a studio tried that. So I think that Marvel needs to get back to that formula. They need to get back to releasing films at a slower cadence,
Mm-hmm.
no more than 3 a year. Disney Plus shows no more than 2 a year. Because I get you have Disney Plus now, so you can't just ignore that. No more than 2 Disney Plus shows a year, no more than 3 films a year. And all of those, in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just a little bit, need to connect or lead to whatever the big story is you're leading to. So now we know that it's Doctor Doom. Okay. Not everything has to tie into Doctor Doom directly, but
Yeah.
it needs to push us closer to whatever that storyline is. It needs to either you're setting up a character that's going to be important for that storyline, you're setting up a plot point that's going to be important for that storyline, you're setting up a MacGuffin or an object that's going to be important for that storyline. Everything needs to be setting up
So
because,
I'm
like I
gonna
said,
ask
even with the
you
original films, like the
again.
Tesseract was in Captain America 1. The Reality
One
Stone was in Thor. So even if the films themselves aren't necessarily tying into Thanos directly,
directly
you're
something
placing the
does.
seeds in these films that are setting up to what you're leading to. And Marvel's gotten away from that now in their,
Mm-hmm.
past few years since Endgame. I think now that, especially now that you have a condensed period of time, I think Avengers Doomsday releases in 2026.
Yeah.
We're in August of 2024. So you have a condensed time frame now to set up what's essentially going to be your next Thanos. You have essentially a year to set this character up.
And well,
So you
again,
don't have time for fillers. You
we
don't.
are guessing still for that because this is what I'm hoping happens. All right.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that because again, we know the multiverse isn't done for the simple fact that Wade Wilson was still in 100 whatever the fuck he was in,
Yeah.
and the MCU, that main universe, the what did they call it?
I
The
think it's
sacred timeline.
616. Yeah, the
The
sacred
sacred
timeline.
timeline
Yeah.
is still there. He
Yeah.
went to that timeline to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we know there's still a bridge there. There's at
Yeah.
least we know for a fact there's two timelines. So
Mm-hmm.
even though we know that they're bringing the Fox over there,
Mm-hmm.
they're still in their own thing.
Yeah.
And to where you said, I'm thinking this is what I'm hoping happens in a Secret War. That's that battle world shit
Yeah.
where that's where after that they'll be finally be fully integrated, and it's not going to be, oh, I remember. Deadpool will probably be the only person that remembers because again it's
Yeah.
Deadpool. That's what he
Mm-hmm.
does.
Yeah.
um Again, I still hate Robert Downey Jr. as Doomsday. it
I don't hate it.
it's so many capable
Yeah.
actors
I
that
understand
you're
and respect that sentiment. I do.
Iron Man is dead. I don't want
Yeah.
to see his fucking face unless he's
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're probably not going to see his face that well. Again, if he shows up as Iron Man Doomsday, then
uh
we probably will see his face because
Yeah.
Tony Stark's vain. He wants his
Yeah.
face to be seen. But any other way, we're probably not going to see him. It'll be kind of a Mandalorian thing where
Where you don't see his face.
you don't
That
see his
now they
face.
do that. That can work.
They do it
The
well.
reason why I don't mind, initially I was kind of like the rest of the fans, like, why are y'all doing this? There were several much, as equally as capable actors that could have taken on that role. I personally wanted Killian Murphy. I thought that would have been perfect casting.
Okay.
I think there were just other actors that could have worked as Doctor Doom that wouldn't have caused this uproar. Now that I have had time to think about the fact that they've casted Robert Downey Jr., is like, oh, okay, well, this is what we're getting now. What do I know? I know Robert Downey Jr. is a phenomenal actor. So his performance I don't have to worry about, which is key considering the other two iterations of Doctor Doom we have on screen are mid at best and terrible at worst. Like
The
we have
second
a
one was
mid.
terrible. The first one was
Yeah,
mid.
like with the first one was mid and the second one was awful. So
See,
like
and that's one where I'm like, the script was just bad.
the script was
That
terrible. So
first the first Doomsday. The
we've never
second one,
gotten a
just
good Doctor
everything
Doom on
about him
screen.
was bad. Everything
Everything was
about him was
bad.
bad. He looked
Yeah,
bad. He acted
yes.
bad.
Yes.
And I will
Yes.
say, that's only two movies that we're thinking about that's coming up. We still getting Fantastic Four movie,
Yep.
and I just found out it's set in the '60s.
I believe so.
It's
That's
supposed
what
to
the
be set in
rumor
the
has been. It's
'60s.
going to be set in
Yeah,
the
yeah, the
60s
rumor
with
is set in
Galactus
the
as the
'60s,
villain.
which I'm not a fan of.
Well, they did set that up. If that's me being a nerd, they did set that up already in I think it was Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, it was because that's when we got um my guy from The Office as Reed Richards. I don't know why I'm blanking on the actor's name, but but when he showed up as Reed Richards and they said Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange does have a line in there. He's like, Fantastic Four, weren't y'all popular in the '60s or something? So
They
he
did.
did say that. So Marvel already planted the seed that at some point in the sacred timeline, the Fantastic Four existed. What happened to them, we don't know. But at some point, they existed in the sacred
Well,
timeline
we
back in the
don't know if that's
'60s.
the sacred timeline though, because
Well, it
again,
was the sacred timeline Strange that said it.
it was sacred
So
timeline strange, but he had still had interactions with different universes at that point.
he was probably aware of other universes.
Yeah, he was aware of them,
We as the
So
audience didn't see him interact with other
yeah,
universes until that movie. So
because
I'm led to believe if he's referencing the Fantastic Four, they existed in
sacred
his
timeline.
universe in some capacity.
I just got. I need to see how they're bringing them to present day because
Yeah.
again, we know Jim Halpert because I can't remember his name. John Krasinski.
John Krasinski. I was like, it's gonna come to me
John
eventually.
Krasinski.
Yes, John
We know
Krasinski.
he's not Iron. He's not going to be Mr. Fantastic. It's Pedro
Which is
Pascal.
disappointing, but I
Very
understand.
disappointing. Very disappointing.
Pedro
That's how,
Pascal is perfectly fine for me. Like, I'm cool with that replacement.
I like him as an actor, but I'm tired of seeing him.
It'll work.
I'm
It'll
not
work.
saying it's not. I'm just,
Yeah.
I would like to not see him in this. He's
Yeah.
already getting Disney money. All right.
Yeah, he is.
He's already
He is.
getting Disney. He's getting a shit ton of money.
And he don't even have to do anything because his face isn't in that
He
show at
doesn't
all.
have to.
He just shows
just
up and does the
voices.
voice.
Yeah, most of
Someone
the
else is
time.
in that costume.
Yeah. So and again, I like him as an actor. Okay,
Mhm.
but like you said about Robert Downey Jr., there's so many more capable actors that we're not
Yeah.
seeing,
Yeah.
or even just the teasing part with. And again, they did it. It was fan service. They seen the memes, they seen the jokes.
Yeah.
They gave us John Krasinski as And that I think that brief moment of him as Mr. Fantastic was good. I liked it. I
Hmm.
was a fan of it, and I would like to see more of it. But again, the fact that we know there's more multiverse stuff coming. Again, from the end of Deadpool and Wolverine, we know they're not done with the multiverse. Even though he said it, they're done, but we just don't know when. you
Yeah, we
know,
don't probably after
like
see. I imagine Secret Wars will be the end of
yeah.
the
So it might
multiverse
be
saga or time,
it might be
stage, whatever they're
2028,
doing.
2029 when they done with this shit. We don't know
Yeah,
for now. So again,
yeah,
he might come back as
it's possible. Oh
yeah,
well,
because you said if this is taking
it would have
place
to
in
be
this,
another universe than the one we saw him
that's
in.
what I'm saying. It's gonna
Yeah,
when they combine it though. Like,
yeah.
are they gonna bring the new Fantastic Four, or are they gonna bring the Fantastic Four back from the '60s?
Hmm.
Because either way, man, like I said, it was a good movie because we got way off topic. I apologize, man.
No, we did go all over the place for
I
sure.
apologize. That took a whole another life of its own. And at the end of the day, it was a great movie. The Deadpool fight scene at the end was also amazing. Um,
Seeing a lot of
and
the cameo villains was awesome. Like
yeah, and
the
as
Red
I'm watching
Nightcrawler,
it,
Azazel.
oh
You
yeah,
seeing Lady
Xavier.
Deathstrike. Toad was in there. Pyro was in there. Like it was
That's
awesome to
the
see the old school brotherhood in there.
that is the cameo that I forgot to mention was the pyro
Hmm.
because him taking Johnny's flame or Johnny burning out
Yeah.
while he's taking his flame, taking his fire powers
Hmm.
was crazy. And he should have died after that fall.
Should
Okay?
have,
He
yes.
should
Like
have been
that. No
dead.
way he survived that.
But I looked over at my sister and I said, so they just driving around with a giant ass magnet? Like,
That was crazy. I'm like, where did that come from?
they're
Like,
just
what?
driving around with a big ass magnet. Nobody like that's cool. Okay,
I guess this is Mad Max. All right.
Yeah, so you like I said, it was a good movie. It was the cameos were fire. I love what they did with him when he tried to confront Cassandra,
Hmm.
and they said, "No, you're not
Yeah.
talking."
Yeah.
And I will say that she has more powers than Charles, but because she has telekinesis,
Hmm.
but and whatever the fuck she did when she turned Johnny into goo. I
Yeah,
don't.
that
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 was
I
not
was like,
telekinesis.
whoa.
I don't know what
I
that
was
was.
like, what is
Like,
that?
did she like just pull the skin off? That would be
And
telekinesis.
she just
But
did
that
this
was
too. Like she ain't even. It was just
yeah.
effortless.
So,
Like
but it was creepy as fuck too.
yeah, yeah.
Like I'm like, oh my god, get like you in my head.
Yeah, no, I mean
like
that is so. I did a little bit of research on Cassandra Nova because I knew of the character
mhm.
before this movie. Like I knew there was a character out there that was an evil twin sister of Charles, and Charles killed her while they were in the womb, but she like regenerated herself. I knew that was a thing that existed, but I wasn't outside of that. I didn't really know anything else about the character, her powers, none of that. So I did a little bit of research after I watched this movie just to kind of
Yeah,
get an understanding. So like all the her reaching through people's eyeballs and all that, like that's all that straight from the comics.
that's
Like
her. That's
that's
her.
her. So it was good to see them bring that in and kind of be true to who the character is.
Yeah,
And kind of like get a as accurate as you can Cassandra on screen. And I think that was the perfect villain for this movie because of her connection to Charles. I think because of her connection to Charles, like since this movie is a very heavy 20th Century Fox Marvel film. It's very heavy on
they
those
had
characters in
somebody
that time
Logan wasn't
period.
going to kill.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Like it
they
had to
gave
be a
us a
reason he
villain that
wasn't
was
going to kill
like
her.
yes, like they gave us a villain that immediately connects to Wolverine. Like the villain is immediately connected to Wolverine
She
because of
because she
both of their
knows him. She
relationships
knows
with
who he
Charles.
is.
You know what I'm saying? So it worked for with her being the villain for this specific story, given like what the tone and the vibe of the movie was of it basically being a love letter to the 20th Century Fox movies. You needed a villain that kind of tied into those films a little bit even though obviously Cassandra Nova was never in any 20th Century Fox property,
Right.
her character ties into a very key essential character from those movies. So it was a good tie-in to bring in a villain that was brand new that the audience has not seen on screen before, but still ties into the characters we're bringing into this universe now.
And again, how she explains it,
Hmm.
when I was born, they took me, the TVA took me immediately because I
Hmm.
was too strong.
Yeah.
They took me from that universe.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you've never heard of her. It
Yeah.
makes sense that Charles never brought her up.
Hmm.
And the one more thing I want to touch on was, so are we assuming that this Deadpool is the only good Deadpool? Because
Because
every
yeah,
other Deadpool, and again, we don't know how many Deadpools are out there because these are
yeah,
only the Deadpools that
in the void.
in the void.
Yeah.
Who I was really expecting to see, who I hoped to see, was Gwenpool or Spider. Which one is I think it's Gwenpool. Was it Spider Gwen? Yeah, it's
Hmm.
Gwenpool.
I didn't know that
Gwen,
existed. I'm gonna be
so
real with
Gwen
you.
Stacy is Deadpool.
Hmm.
She wears this pink and she, instead of red and black, she wears pink and white.
That's her skull. That's her color scheme. Okay,
Yeah,
for everything.
it's dope. But that's what I was hoping to see. We did get a Lady Deadpool.
Hmm.
We got a dog pool,
Pretty much every type of
kid
pool you
pool,
could think
baby
of, we
pool.
got.
So it was cool. And they
Yeah.
said Matthew McConaughey was the samurai pool.
There were, I know a lot of the Deadpools in there were famous actors.
Yeah.
Because I know Blake Lively was Lady Pool.
Yep.
So like a lot of the Deadpool variants we got were other, known actors.
And the two kids were his kids. So
Oh
Kid
wow, I
Pool and
didn't know
Baby
that
Pool
either.
were. I don't know if Baby Pool was actually his kid because again, it's
Hmm.
a baby.
Yeah.
The baby could have been CGI.
Hmm.
But back to the CGI. I'm sorry, I just thought about it again.
Okay.
There again, I already mentioned the CGI. That was the only thing that really hung me up on it. And like I said, the time in the void was a little long, but
Yeah.
it fit. Um, Even when Cassandra, the rest of her finger stuff was, again, it's creepy, but I got it. But when she took down Paradox and she drug him into the subway, it looked like it was a rubber doll.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah.
like he kept on mentioning, we couldn't keep Chris Evans in this movie. That's killing our budget.
Budget. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe getting all these actors in there, they skimped on the CGI because
It's possible. It's
the
a lot
rest of the
of.
CGI was
Yeah.
fire. Like you said, you
Yeah.
mentioned the fight. Let's go back to the fight scenes. The opening fight scene when he's fighting the TVA, it's fucking fire. The
Hmm.
things he was doing with Wolverine's body was
Pause.
insane. Pause.
Pause.
It was a pause
But you're
moment in
right
that
though.
fight. It
But
was
you, it was a lot
when
of
he
pause
did
moments in that
the.
fight. It was a lot of
So
pause moments in
yeah,
it was
so
several pause moments in this movie.
that's Deadpool though.
Yeah,
So
it is. It is.
you got that first fight. Um, you got the fight with
Yeah.
him and Wolverine at the beginning. Also,
Yeah.
we did not talk about Henry Cavill as Wolverine.
Calverine. We didn't really touch on like a lot of the
The
cameo
variants.
Wolverines,
Yeah.
the Wolverine variants, like him versus
Yeah.
the Hulk.
We
We
could
got
do
a
that
lot of.
real quick though,
Yeah.
because it was only real quick that they had it. But
Yeah.
the Wolverine fight, um, who did they fight after that? I think they fought again after that. I wouldn't call what that encounter with he did fight I wouldn't even call that a fight. His fight with Sabretooth.
Yeah. Barely.
Yeah, it was good. We liked it, but it wasn't really a fight.
Yeah.
So the next time they fight again is so really they fight, they have encounters, and then they fight again in the van,
Hmm.
which was it was just hilarious and just the only reason they fought is because he called his girlfriend a stripper or his ex a stripper.
Yeah. Yeah. He
She's a
was just like,
dancer.
I'm gonna
Okay,
fight you now.
she's a dancer. So then the next time they fight is going into Cassandra's place and
Yep.
getting in there. And you see fucking again, you see Gambit just fucking blowing people up. All right.
It was
Amazing.
awesome to see all those old characters back in action. Like even Elektra, even
Hmm.
though people forget about her
It
movie
was a
and it was
terrible movie,
terrible.
that's why.
It was terrible.
But the
But
last fight was him and all the Deadpools.
yeah,
And again, as a send off to the Fox universe, because we didn't get a bunch of Deadpools in any of these movies. All right.
hmm,
And we didn't get any Deadpools. It was him. That was it.
yeah,
So it was good to see all those different variants of Deadpools. And some of them were just Deadpool. It didn't, it was just, it was like
yeah.
10 Deadpools, just regular Deadpools, which is cool,
Yeah.
So the fight scenes, it was enough. Um, and I want to say because there was a lot of fight scenes actually,
Hmm.
but the Sabretooth fight scene was very short, very short. I wouldn't even call it a fight scene. So it was short enough to where you could throw a fight scene in here and be satisfied.
Hmm.
Even the fight in the van, that fight was very short. They had a few quick shots, and then they did a time lapse where went to the new day, they sleeping and shit.
Yeah.
Again, it was long enough to where we know they were fighting, and then the um the open shot or the next shot that we get is blood everywhere. He's wrapped up, he's knocked out.
Hmm.
So you're getting the sense that there was a fight. There was a big battle. They were
Yeah.
fighting for a minute. And their regenerative powers is what kept them going that long.
Hmm.
So the fights definitely was one of the things that was a strong point in the
Yeah.
movie for me.
Yeah.
And like you said,
Absolutely.
that first and the best ones were probably the that first fight scene when he fought the
Yep.
TVA, and
Yep.
then that first Wolverine and Deadpool fight. Like those were well done, very well done. And I'm gonna keep my 8.5 for that reason. Um, I can keep going, man. Like I said, we could do real quick on the cameos if you want to. Like I said, that was the only one that I enjoyed, even though I don't want him as Wolverine.
Yeah, that I think seeing Henry Cavill as Wolverine was enough for me to go, yeah, I'm okay on that. It was a good
I
cameo, but I don't need 2 hours of that.
well,
Um,
I legitimately want someone shorter. They give us someone shorter. He doesn't
yeah,
need to be the 5'2" short king.
yeah, he don't need to be that
But
short.
give us somebody shorter, and I would like to see Henry Cavill in another movie,
I would
superhero
like to
movie.
see Henry Cavill in the MCU for sure.
Yeah,
I think
because
there's
they
a lot
they
of
fucked him over as
characters.
Superman.
Yeah, I think there's a
But
lot of really cool characters he could play in the MCU. I'm going to stick with my nine as well. I think there's so much
oh,
in
put
this
the
movie to
jaws
love.
nine down, Jamal.
Don't bring,
Don't pick
hold
up the
on,
nine,
Jamal.
Jamal.
Don't grab the nine. No,
Oh shit.
no, but man, there's so much in this movie to love. If you're a
Yeah,
nerd in any capacity, especially a comic book nerd, there's so much in this movie to love. If you're a film nerd, if you are just a kid that grew up on the old 20th Century Fox Marvel movies, there's so much in this film to love, and there's so
yeah,
much in this film that's going to be satisfying to you that you're going to be able to walk away and say, like, I took something from this movie as a fan of these properties that I like can get a lot of enjoyment out of. And I think that, like I said, I think this film is going to serve as a springboard. This doesn't fix the MCU. It's going to take a minute before we get a fixed MCU. But this film is going to serve as a springboard into what I think is going to be much more concise and better written storytelling with the MCU going forward. And I think this film is going to be used as a catapult or a springboard for us to start getting better stories out of the MCU as we go forward in 2025. I'm really looking forward to see how how they utilize some of these characters in here. If we get, I'm assuming we'll get Deadpool back at some point. I'm assuming Henry Cavill. I'm assuming Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is coming back at some point. And we'll see about the other cameos in here. I doubt we'll get them outside of this movie,
yeah,
but it'll be cool to see how the storylines that were set up in this are used to catapult the universe going forward. So yeah, guys, that's our review of Deadpool and Wolverine. As you can see, we thoroughly enjoyed it. We went on several rants and tangents, but we're
I may
nerds.
go
That's
see it
what we
again.
do. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go see it a
Like
third
I
time
said,
too.
I already
Honestly,
told you where the parts where I felt was lacking, and I still may go
yeah,
see it again. So
yeah. I'm probably going to see this a third time for sure. This has been Marvel's best work in quite some time, and it has me. It kind of is giving me a new excitement about the MCU that I haven't really had in a
I need
while.
you to go watch the Marvels, man.
I don't think the Marvels is going to do it.
It's not going to overtake it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have the same feeling.
Hmm.
Like you
Yeah.
saying, like this is its best work by far. I don't think it has the same feeling after watching the Marvels because the Marvels was really well done. That's
I
all I'm
don't
saying.
think I'm going to.
It's
Now I will watch the Marvels. I
it's
plan on
I
watching
don't
the
think it's
Marvels,
better than this Deadpool movie, but it
but I
was
don't think I'm gonna watch the Marvels and go, "Oh yeah, this was the movie that was going to springboard the MCU
no,
back
no,
to grace."
and it was
I don't think.
never going to be that. It
Yeah,
was never going to be
yeah. This is the. I feel like this was the best movie to do that for several reasons. A, it's a character that's already beloved. It's a character that didn't exist in this universe before, and it's a character that's helping introduce Wolverine into the MCU, which is something fans have been wanting for a long time.
But and
Um,
again, I think we might have talked about the Wolverine movies before. They were not good movies.
Only
I
one of
think it
them's
was
good.
the second one and then the last
Logan.
one.
Logan's the only. Well, the second one's decent.
Which
X Men Origins. You got X Men Origins,
I'm
which is
not talking
terrible.
about. No, no, no. I'm talking about.
You
I'm not
got
talking
the
about that.
Wolverine when he fought Silver Samurai,
Silver Samurai.
which was there. There was some good stuff in that movie. I don't think that movie's bad.
What was
I just
was
think
there a third one or was
it's
Logan the
okay.
third one?
Logan's the third one.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So
the
we
first one
technically
was
have a Wolverine trilogy. Like
okay.
there's
So
a Wolverine trilogy, and
the
it's those
first one
three
was worse
movies.
by far.
Yeah, the first one's terrible.
The first one
Second
was
one's okay,
got a little better,
and
but the
then
third one was
Logan
just
is a
yeah.
masterpiece.
So I think by
Logan,
the time, honestly, I think
hot
what
take. I think Logan might be the greatest comic book movie ever made, or if not top three.
I'd have to write down all comic book movies and then go from there. But
Yeah.
like you said, it's already beloved character, so it
Hmm.
brought back another beloved character after putting out a fucking banger.
Yeah.
You know, we had Wolverine again. I've never been a fan of Wolverine like that. So for the X-Men movies to put him at the forefront of the X-Men, and these movies were shit. All right, I watched them. I again, it could be a bad movie and I can enjoy myself. I
Hmm.
enjoyed myself. They were terrible movies, most of them, because some of the newer ones, the newer X Men movies were better, but they were terrible.
You talking
And
about the original ones?
yeah,
Oh, we're gonna
those were
disagree
fucking
on that
terrible.
one. We're gonna
Those were
disagree. X Men
terrible.
1 and 2 are phenomenal.
The second one was. The second one
I
was
think
fire.
you're
I'll
the
give you
first
that.
one is good. What do you
This
mean?
first one was not good. The first one was
Yeah,
not fucking good. The first one
I,
had some good
I think you're in the
scenes.
minority on this one, my
I
guy.
guarantee you, I am not,
I
brother.
guarantee you are.
Anywho,
Go look at the first X Men's Rotten
anywho,
Tomato score. I want you to go
they
see what
killed.
that says.
By the time we got a fucking banger of a movie, they
Yeah,
killed Wolverine.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like you said,
That is fair.
so
Yes.
I'm not even going. He doesn't even have a trilogy because it wasn't a Deadpool movie. It was a Deadpool and Wolverine movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So he has four movies now. I'm gonna say he has four movies now.
Essentially, because this was just as much Wolverine's movie as it was Deadpool's
Yeah,
for sure. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we could definitely go all day and go on several
I'm
more
in the
tangents.
minority. Fuck that. No,
You definitely are. I
no.
ain't gonna lie. X Men: The Last Stand, I'm with you. Not great, but those first two,
The first one
very
was
high
not.
quality
The
movies.
first one was
Yes,
okay. It was not good. It was not
yes,
good at all.
it was definitely good. Solid 7.5 out of 10. You tripping? But we digress. So that is our review of Deadpool and Wolverine, y'all. Thank you so much for supporting. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know your thoughts of Deadpool and Wolverine. What were some of your favorite parts? What were some of your favorite cameos? What
No,
are some
fuck that.
things
Let
you're
me know about X Men One.
and yes, let us
Let me
know
know about.
if X
Let
Men
me
One
know
is a
about how
good
you
movie,
feel about these
y'all.
X Men movies.
Come on now, like let's be real. Don't play with me. Y'all know X Men. Y'all know the first X Men is a good movie. So yes, prove me right in the comments of this video that the first X Men is a quality film. I know I'm not tripping. But until next time, this is the Real Film Fanatics. Peace.